Hi everyone, I'm Tom Wilson. Welcome back to the Northern Gamblers podcast for our Day 4 podcast preview of the Cheltenham Festival. So we'll be covering the Triumph Hurdle, the County, the Albert Bartlett, the Gold Cup, the Foxhunters, the Granule and the Martin Pipe. As ever, I'm joined by James Dunkley. Hi James, welcome back.
Hi Tom, how are you? Have you recovered from our preview evening?
Yes, I have. Yeah, looking forward to this. Actually, as you said to me just before we started, we were probably too drunk to actually cover Day 4 by the time we got towards it. So it's nice to have the podcast to get stuck into it again.
Yes, definitely.
So we'll start with the Triumph. Solo currently heads the market at 3-1, followed by Goshen at 4s and All Mankind at 9-2. Perhaps interesting in the fact that the market principles are all British or British based rather than Irish based. Normally, so the decent trials here are normally the Spring Juvenile over at Leopardstown. So far classes come from that 2018, Ivanovic Gorbatov 2016, Tiger Roll 2014, Our Connor 2013, Country Ride Flame 2012. The Adonis used to be a decent trial, but you could argue that influence is waning. The last horse that won coming from the Adonis race at Kempton was Arcandra in 2011, and I think the last horse that placed was Grumetti in 2012. The rat himself, who actually won last weekend, Charlie Parks, came from the Adonis for this, and that's where we lost all of our money. But the reason I mention it is because Solo is heading the market after winning the Adonis very nicely last time out on debut for Paul Nicholls. James, how do you take the Triumph? Do you like Solo as a favourite?
No, I don't like Solo as a favourite. I've had a strong opinion on one horse throughout the season, and I'm not going to switch now after one performance. It was a good performance, there's no denying that. On the clock, it actually wasn't that good. I've listened to a few people who look come at it from that aspect, and they've said it's not great on the clock. So it was visually impressive, but yeah, I like one for this, and I'm not just going to dismiss it for one. Obviously, he's got the recency bias, and he's a short price now anyway, so Solo's a no from me. I also think with the expected pace in this race, he's been running over in France, where they tend to go slow and then quicken up later on. I think he's just not going to know what's hit him, to be honest, when this race starts and All Mankind just starts bombing off, which leads me to my selection, who is All Mankind. As you know, and as most people who watch these know, I'm a flat man. I prefer flat racing, probably because I'm just better at punting it. But All Mankind was in my tracker and in my notes as a flat horse to watch last season, and he had some pretty decent form, but he was never really able to settle. He's, as you can see in his hurdle races, he's a bit of a lunatic who likes to just go off at his own pace and do his own thing. And on the flat, that just didn't work at all for him. Obviously, he was then gelded and sent over to Dan Skelton. And on his first start, he bombed off as usual. Because he was running against a load of yaks, he was just able to sustain it and win. So that was obviously a concern for him. But as we've seen with his win at Cheltenham, which is obviously nice to have that course form, and then his win at Chepstow, which I thought was very impressive in a Grade 1. He is, although he goes off like the clappers, he is able to sustain it. And he's beaten decent horses, and he's beaten them really well. Another horse who's a main protagonist is Goshen. They have a few horses with similar form lines. Nordano. It came out when Goshen beat Nordano easily. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, he's just destroyed Nordano," and then Nordano came out and won. But if you look through All Mankind's form, he actually beat Nordano further. And I think people just seem to be forgetting that All Mankind is similar to Goshen, but he probably hurdles better. He has course form. He has won a Grade 1, and he's gone left-handed. He's proven like that. And I just think he's a better horse. I think he was a better flat horse. This was a horse that was touted for the Derby as a 2-year-old. That's how much they think of him. Oh, that's how much Michael Bell's they thought of him before he obviously switched codes. And I just really like him. I can't believe he's the third favourite. I would have him as the favourite. As I was touching on Goshen, he's never gone left-handed. Even on the flat, he was an absolute mudlark. I don't think he's ever run anything that's not been sort of bad ground. And the forecast is to sort of dry out throughout the week. So on Friday, we might have decent, good to soft ground. And yeah, he jumps to the right. He's never ran at Cheltenham. Like it's just there's too many question marks for me there. And then from the Irish, Aspire Tower, he fell last time out, and his bubble burst slightly. But I was never really that much of a fan of him. So yeah, I'm quite strong on All Mankind for this.
Nice to kick off the podcast with a strong selection. I've got some analysis to share. So can you see my screen yet?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah,
good. So this is the trials. So as I mentioned, Spring Juvenile. Coming from that, you've got A Wave of the Sea and Cerberus. The Adonis, you've got Solo and Fujimoto Flyer. The Finesse is normally a trial as well, but you've got now coming from the Finesse. This is some stats and analysis on how the Irish trained horses versus British trained horses do in the Triumph. And as you see, this is from the last 7 years. I've got the stats for it, and you see Ireland have won 4 and Britain have won 3, so it's pretty much a split in terms of wins. But Ireland have won half the horses, so their impact value is higher in the win impact, and also their place impact value is significantly higher as well. So I was really going to side with the Irish horses, and I spent a lot of time trying to find the Irish horse that would win this. There's the trainer record. You see that Nichols he's won 2. And it's in the last 12 years, so that gives you Solo. There's a couple.
Sorry, but it's interesting that Henderson hasn't got one this year.
Yeah, very interesting.
His record's insane in this, and obviously he's top of your table.
There's a couple that you can kick out on, like some form trends. 7 out of 12 winners finish first on their last start. Kick out Aspire Tower. 10 out of 12 winners finish first or second in their on their last start. Kick out Cerberus. This is one that I did think was a negative for All Mankind. 12 out of 12 winners had run in the 60 days prior to the festival, so they'd run since mid-January. I think his last run was on Chepstow, wasn't it, on the 27th of December?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So that is a negative against him, I think. So
I had actually heard that stat.
Yeah. But then I started to get into the form. And as you know, I'm not really a form man, I'm a stats man. But let's look at it. So Solo there has beaten Fujimoto Flyer and then some horses rated in the 120s. Off a top weight, line 13 lengths, 5.5 lengths. Wave of Sea off levels has beaten some 130s horses. Goshen has beaten a 126 horse off levels by 11 lengths. Okay. All Mankind has beaten Cerberus by 9 lengths. And this is the interesting thing for me, because I was trying to make a case all of the time for A Wave of the Sea. So A Wave of the Sea was my selection going all the way through it. But then we get to A Wave of the Sea beating Cerberus off levels by 1.25 lengths. And then we can see that All Mankind has smashed up Cerberus by 9 lengths.
And you also see there in the All Mankind farm, the Nordano's third, 18 lengths behind All Mankind, whereas Goshen beat him 11.
So I was trying my hardest to make a case for A Wave of the Sea. And in the end, despite that negative kind of days run stat, I'm siding with you completely on All Mankind. I think so on the known form, he should be a clear favourite, and I think it's mental that he's not.
I think the other thing as well with the Irish form there is Cerberus was actually leading, and he just totally blew up on the running. He just didn't see the race out at all. Like he looked like he was probably traded 1.1 or whatever to win. Like looked like he was going to win, and he just folded. So you could even say it makes the All Mankind form line even stronger, really.
Yeah. So yeah, double podcast pick then. So All Mankind in the Triumph, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. So then we get on to the county. And I have my nap of the week in the county. There's a horse that I'm mega keen on in the county. Let's look at... I think you've got one that you really fancy here as well, haven't you?
I've got 2.
There's 2 that I really like as well. But Trials, Betfair Hurdle used to be a decent trial, but it's had no winners since 2008. I'd ignore it. The Boyle Sports Hurdle at Leopardstown is a decent prep, and Willie uses it to quite good effect. It's where he prepped Arctic Fire, it's where he prepped Final Approach, and where he prepped 1,000 Stars. So you've got Eglantine de Soy and Build Me Up Buttercup coming from that trial, and treading a similar path as some of the other Willie Mullins winners in the last 10 years. Before I get deep into mine, how do you read the county?
Yeah, obviously hugely competitive, but it's a race I like, and I think there's enough historically to help you find a winner. Obviously, Willie Mullins and Dan Skelton have won the last 5 renewals between them. Skelton's won 3 and Mullins has won 2. So I've got one from the Mullins yard, one from the Skelton yard. Unfortunately, the prices, they are quite obvious, and the prices have absolutely been obliterated. So you're talking 10, 12 to 1 on these. First one is probably the most obvious plot of all time. Mohamed, he won this 2 years ago off 139. He comes here off 142. He actually won. He won this for 139, and then later on in the year, in the December, he won a big handicap at Ascot, the Betfair handicap of 145. So he obviously likes these big field handicaps, and he was actually 7th in this last year. I think he was off 153. So to get him back down to 142, obviously like Cheltenham, won this race before, £3 lower mark. I think Bridget Arjuice did actually claim 3 that day, and I'm not sure who's riding him. He just looks very solid. I mean, you're going to get extra places on the day. If he's around 10 to 1 and you're getting, I don't know, you might get 6 places somewhere. Yeah, it looks solid. Everything's there. The other one I like is when we saw the Irish marks and Aramon. He is off 149. He has some very decent novice form. I think he won a Grade 1. He was 2nd at Classical Dream, and then was 6th in the Supreme. He's had a couple of quiet runs this season in Grade 1s, but I think he's definitely potentially better than a mark of 149. And yeah, that's my 2 for the county.
Yeah, I can definitely see Mahayed running very well. Will go very close. Let's look at the trainer records a little bit. I mean, Skelton, as you mentioned, very good in recent years. Mahayed's going to be bang there. Willie, of course, very good. There's all the Willie runners. You've got Seal de Neige, who's 2nd in the Betfair Hurdle. Aramon off a lovely mark, as you mentioned. And then we've got the one that I'm really, really keen on, which is Eglantine de Soy. The winner of the Mayor's Novice last year. I'm really, really keen on her for this. Really keen on her.
I was quite interested in her, but I just think she's been given a bit of a high mark personally.
145, isn't it?
I think it's 149. I think she got up.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Yeah, right. I think so. And I'll double check that, but yeah, because I was quite interested in her because she ran. I think she was she off 140 in an Irish handicap, and she ran a decent race. And I thought, oh, that she'll be interesting wherever she goes.
It's 149. It is.
Yeah, and then the Irish handicap bumped her up a bit, and then she got a bit of a British tax, and I thought, I'm not sure now. She might actually go Coral Cup, mightn't she?
I'm still keen on her. I still like her. Just to talk about the pace a little bit in the county. For most of the races, the pace favours front runners or very prominent runners. The county is completely different. You do not want to be front running, and you probably do not want to be prominent in the county. You want to be coming from mid division, or really coming from the back, right from the rear. This is how it looked just after 3 out in 2019, and what I've done is I've annotated where the first 4 came from. So
sorry, that picture's just reminded me. If Fusel Raffles does come to the county instead of the champion, I also think he'd be very interesting off 150, because as you see there, We Have a Dream came 2nd in this last year. Same connection, same owner, same trainer. I think We Have a Dream was off about 154, 155, and Fusel Raffles was, as a juvenile, looked top notch, just like We Have a Dream did. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. If he goes into the county, I'll probably definitely have a bit of a save on him.
Yeah. Chittabello buried in midfield there, coming through late on. Countista right next door. We Have a Dream just tucked in behind. Whiskey Sour right out the back. But load of horses covered up, buried in midfield, coming late on in the straight and up the hill. This is how it looked at a similar time in the 2018 county. It's interesting. Mahayed went from the front last year, which probably ruined the chances of that horse. So I expect them to bury a bit deeper this year. Was prominent in 2018 and sat in behind. So you see Mahayed took more prominent there. Remy Lux second. Whiskey Sour buried out the back. Chesterfield buried right out the back and came through later on as well. 2017, there was this horse that went off about 20 lengths clear, like Warifa or something like that. I can't remember his name. But you see, this is probably deceptive. This is 20 lengths from the front to the back. But you see Arctic Fire's buried out the back. Air Horse 1's buried in midfield. Lammy Surge, the Rat, is buried out the back in second, just travelling, of course. Aussie the Oscar's buried up in third. I think they're going to bury Eglantine de Soy. And probably Aramon as well, and just really have a nice carry through the race, and then just push late on and absolutely come steaming up the hill. So they'll be tearing down on anything that's out the front there. Why I really like Eglantine de Soy is let's look at the mare's novice hurdle form from last year, and there's some decent horses in behind. And now, of course, a lot of these horses have improved significantly, but Epatante is there in 9th in the mare's novice last year. Of course, now the favourite for the champion hurdle. And I'm not saying she hasn't improved a bucket load, but that's still interesting Cheltenham form for me. Posh Trish is also like a decent horse that's in my hand. I think Black Tears is in this race somewhere else as well. I think Eglantine de Soy loves big fields. Of course, absolutely relished it and won off a big price in this race at Cheltenham last year.
And if you watched that race, the mare's novice last year, she came from sort of buried midfield, held up, and was traveling like a travel-y thing, and just absolutely powered up the home run. It's worth watching actually again.
Yeah, so I can see the same thing happen. Loved it in that Boyle Sports extended handicap as well. Big field, 21, 22 runners. Buried midfield, came through at the end, finished third, I think, maybe fourth. But yeah, it's the Willie's preparation. You're going to be winning that. Unfortunately, probably finished too far forward, so got a couple of pounds. But I think the race is tailor-made for her. Nice course form from last year. Pace is going to suit to a T. So shame about the couple of extra pounds, but quite a big each-way bet for me on Eglantine de Soy in the county. And Aramon definitely has a chance as well, and Mahayed definitely has a chance.
Well, it'll be interesting to see who Paul Townend rides, won't it? Because they've got plenty in the race, and they're all there or thereabouts. So interesting to see. You'd think they'd have a decent idea who's the best. I mean, they're running off the same mark. They're running off 149, Aramon and Eglantine de Soy. So that'll be Jockey Bookings will be interesting.
Yeah, good. So Eglantine de Soy for me, and Mahayed and Aramon for you. Yeah. I think all three for both of us. To be honest, that's three podcast picks across the county. Each way. Albert Bartlett, Time Hill's the favourite at 9-2, followed by Monkfish for Willie at 11-2. Let's look at the trials quickly, and then I'll come to you. Trials for the Albert Bartlett. Classic Novices Hurdle at Cheltenham, normally quite effective. Harry Senior won that. The Prestige at Haydock has contributed a couple of winners. Ramses de Telly won that. And the Grade 1 in January over 2 mile 6 at Leopardstown has contributed 2 winners as well. Latest exhibition won that. Obviously, the 2 market principles, Time Hill and Monkfish, not shown there. James, how do you read the trial?
Time Hill in the shallow.
Yeah, but so there you go, yeah. But only one winner from the shallow, so I didn't annotate it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have quite a strong opinion in this race, and it's probably not the best race to have a strong opinion in, because you tend to get big price winners, and something out of the blue can pop up. But anyway, so I like 2 horses in this race. Quite strong on one, and then the other's just it's a similar angle, so I'd be daft not to back them both, kind of thing. First one is a horse you mentioned. It's Harry Senior for Colin Tizard. Now I like that race that he won at, and I also like the fact that it was at Cheltenham. I think it's called the Bartlett Trial now, even though it's a better trial for the Bartlett, it seems.
Yeah, Ballymore Novices Hurdle it's called now.
Yeah. And he was really good that day. Actually looked not beat, but potentially like he wasn't going to win. And then he hit jumped the last hurdle and up that hill, and he just stayed on really powerfully. He is so one of the main angles on my flat foot. What I do when I'm picking flat form, I like to look at pedigrees like quite in depth. I think it matters slightly more on the flat than it does in National Hunt, mainly because of the dams. But anyway, that's a different story. Harry Senior is by Oscar, who is a great sire of staying hurdlers. His progeny include Pedlar's Cross, Paisley Park, Rock on Ruby, Blackjack Catcher, Matt Fisher's Cross, and also he's out of a presenting mare. So there's a lot of stamina on both sides of the pedigree. He hasn't actually run over 3 miles yet, but I think that is just going to bring out so much improvement from him. The Oscar presenting cross is the same as Paisley Park. So that I just thought that was interesting when I was looking at it a little bit more in depth. And obviously the form at Cheltenham is a big plus, and an extra distance is just gonna bring out even more improvement. I also like the fact that he has, I think this will be his 6th run of the season. He ran over 2 miles at the start of the year. He was beaten by Sporting John, which has obviously worked out. Was looking decent form. He's second favourite for the Ballymore. And then he was beaten by Edward Stone over 2 miles. Now, Edward Stone was quite high up in the Supreme market, and then he was beaten by Silverstone. But I don't think that's bad form, and I think Edward Stone could bounce back. So the fact that he was just right with them over 2 miles, and then as soon as he step up and trip, he won. Where did he win? Might have been Chepstow, and then he won obviously that race at Cheltenham. So he looks to be improving as he's going up and trip, which is something I want to see. He's got quite a similar profile to Kilbrecken Storm, who Colin Tizard won this with. A similar amount of runs. I actually think Kilbrecken Storm had one less. Similar kind of mark. So I'm thinking Harry Senior has been sort of, and they also won at Cheltenham beforehand. So I'm thinking Tizard's given a similar kind of prep with the Albert Bartlett in mind. So yeah, I think, and he was 10-1 for quite a while. I don't know if he's a little bit short now. You might still be able to get 10s, and I think he's very solid. He's got everything you want. I don't think the experience angle is. You'll hear a lot of it being played up like, oh, you need loads of runs to win this race. I think that's actually a bit of a myth now, because Manila Endo didn't actually have that many runs. As I just said, Kilbrecken Storm didn't. I think we had like maybe 2 winners that had plenty of runs and a bit of age, and then it was just like, oh, well, that's how you do it now. But I think it's sort of reverting back. I mean, I think he has got enough experience. And the second horse I like, just because he's also by Oscar. He's out of a Supreme Leader mare, which is, funnily enough, is the same cross as Kilbrecken Storm, as well as Blackjack Ketchum and at Fisher's Cross. So I like his pedigree as well, and obviously his form of winning the Grade 1 at the Dublin Race Festival over 2 miles 6. I think that was on your table as a good race for this. So he's a little bit shorter, and I do actually prefer Harry Senior, but just as a sort of to cover my stake kind of thing.
Who was that latest exhibition?
Latest exhibition, yeah. So those are the two. Those are the two that I'm quite keen on, but more so Harry Senior.
Yeah. I like your Oscar stats. So interestingly, Oscar is the third winning most sire at the Cheltenham Festival since 2008. So in first you got King's Theatre with 15 winners. Second you got Robin Deschamps with 14 winners, and third you got Oscar with 13 winners. And fourth you've got Presenting with 12 winners. So your cross is a nice one for Cheltenham Festival
and I would
winners.
Yeah, and I would imagine most of those wins have been over hurdles. Looking at his progeny,
probably, yeah. I I had a look. I went form angle again here. So latest exhibition has beaten a couple of like low 140s horses by a couple of lengths. In that DRF race that you mentioned, Longhouse Poet was 2 lengths behind. We're at 142. Beat
I
Fury
would
Road.
I wouldn't personally take too much notice of the ratings with it being a novice.
Yeah.
I
True.
mean, they haven't really shown the whole hand, and it's hard to get a proper figure for them. Like a horse that wins this will probably be rated mid 140s, but soon as they've won it, they're going to be, you know what I mean, mid 150s probably.
Yeah, but that's part of my narrative. So he was beating kind of low to mid 140s horses, a couple of lengths. Same for Time Hill. So he's beat the Cashel Man, rated 143 by 1.5 lengths. Last time out in the Shallow. And then you've got Harry Senior. He's beaten King Roland, rated 133, 2 lengths. The Rat, Protect the Rat, 139, 4 lengths. So, and then House Island 143 by 6 lengths. So he's kind of getting into the mid to high 140s on kind of adjusted weights. Ramses de Telly is one that I really do like, actually. So he won the Albert Bartlett Prestige Grade 2 last time out. As I mentioned in the trials, it's a decent trial. He beat Kaluki, but he was giving Kaluki £5 and he beat him 4 lengths, and Kaluki's rated 140. So that pushes Ramses de Telly up into the high 140s for me. The thing that I liked is it was over 3 miles, that race, so he's kind of gone the distance when some of the others haven't, and he was really staying on. He just looks like a kind of a bit of a brutal stare, and as we know in the Albert Bartlett, you need a bit of a hardened, brutal horse, or is the general convention of what you need for the race. So Ramses de Telly really fit the profile for me, and the fact that he's bigger priced than the others, when I pretty much rated them at a similar level, made me really like him. The one that could completely blow them all out the water, though, is Monkfish. And he could be a massive hype job, or he could win by 5, 6, 10 lengths. So he absolutely sluiced up last time out in a novice hurdle over in Ireland over 2 miles 6. But he beat a horse called Alpine Cobra by 20 lengths, and then a horse called Vita Loy by 23 lengths, who's rated 136. And he was eased down at the end. So Monkfish, unexposed, could be, I mean, most of them are unexposed. Monkfish could be absolutely anything. He's by Stowaway as well, and those horses get better the further that they go. Stowaways going over 3 miles have a really nice record in terms of return. You get them up to 3 mile 2, they've got a strike rate of 22%, 13 from 58, and over 3 miles, the 36 from 300. And they just get better basically with distance. So this Monkfish, have no idea what the ceiling is, hasn't run in any competitive races, could be anything, and going further is going to be a big benefit. So I'd be scared of that one. So my selection is Ramses de Telly, but I'm going to back Monkfish as well because I'm scared of what the horse could be. Could be anything.
You're scared of that second favourite, are you?
Yeah. 11-2 though. It's not a rank price.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just I don't know. He seems to be one of these horses that Mullins always used to send before he sent Penhill to win it. Unexposed, two unexposed. I know I was saying that it's drifting back the other way, but I don't know. He hasn't really had a battle at all, has he?
Yeah, no, he hasn't.
But yeah, he could be anything.
It's interesting that none of us like Time Hill.
Yeah, I'm not so keen on the form. His recent form just doesn't seem to be working out. Made a bit of a heavy weather beating the Cashel Man as well. I don't know. He hasn't run since either, so yeah, wouldn't be for me. I don't think he's the type of this. I don't think he'll suit this type of race. As you said, it no matter on your experience, it is a battle, and it will be a battle up that hill.
So Harry Senior for you with the Saver on latest exhibition.
Yeah.
Ramses de Telly for me with a Saver on Monkfish. So then we come to the big one, the Gold Cup. Santini is currently the 7-2 favourite. Then you've got last year's winner, Album Photo, in at 4s, Delta Work in at 6s. The trials, I mean, they've all basically come from the decent trials. So, I mean, King George historically has given us 6 winners in the last 20 years, I think. So you got, but isn't really, I don't know if horses that win the King George are really that suited to the Gold Cup, but you got Clan de Zobo coming from that. Then we've got the Lexus Chase at Leopardstown. So we've got Delta Worker Ken Boy presenting Percy Monley coming from that. We've got the Irish Gold Cup. We've got Delta Worker who won that, Ken Boy presenting Percy. And probably on the British side then also as well, we've got the Cotswolds Chase at Cheltenham, won by Santini, followed home by Bristol Demai. And that's probably what's making Santini the favourite. I think he's an absolutely rank favourite for this at 7-2. But James, what do you think about the Gold Cup?
I think I haven't got a strong opinion on it. Is what I think. It's from a punting perspective and putting your punting head on. Like, how do you back to it with confidence? Like, do you know what I mean? Album photo, yeah, won it last year, won it well. Same preparation. He should be favourite, no doubt about it.
Yeah, agreed.
But I don't know, like, maybe it's just because he's never really, you just don't really warm to a horse. I've never really warmed to him, so I wouldn't be backing him. Santini, I actually think, gun to my head, Santini would be the one, just because I think if you look back last year at the RSA, which is now looking like a really strong piece of form again, he did have that really bad interrupted prep. He missed his prep race. There was something wrong with him in the week on the lead. It wasn't. I can't remember what was wrong with him. There was something wrong with him. And there was the whole flu jab fiasco, and everything that went wrong for Santini seemed to go wrong. And then he still runs that massive race, and I mean, he's half a length off winning. He is really lightly raced, to be honest, isn't he? For a Gold Cup candidate, he's and his best performance probably was last time out, and that was over just shy of what this course and distance is. The extra furlong definitely going to suit. You presume, he's obviously been trained for one day. There's going to be improvement to come from there, and he beat Bristol Demai relatively easily once they got past that last fence. But yeah, but I wouldn't be confident. I don't know if they're putting the old cheekers on Anna, the cheek pieces. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. He finished ahead of Delta Work in the RSA. Delta Work's come out and had after initially not a great race. I think he's unbeaten since, won the Irish Gold Cup. Has decent Cheltenham form. Obviously won the Temps, and then was third in the RSA, where you could argue it didn't go 100% smoothly, and he could improve for that. So him and Santini are pretty closely matched for me, and they're those second season novices which you probably want in the race these days. I don't really like Ken Boy. I think he's just better suited to a flatter track. And Clanders Oboe, same story really. So, and I'm not sure about presenting Percy either. So yeah, as I said, I don't really have a strong opinion, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably just side with Santini. But I doubt I'll even have a bet in the race.
Yeah, it's a really tough betting race, really, isn't it? It's a hard puzzle to figure out. I do quite like Album Photo, and even though there's this kind of thing that horses that have run twice never come back and win, or no horse has ever come back and won on consecutive years. What I do really like about him is his prep and his campaign. He's had a really light campaign, and I think Willie knows exactly what he's been doing in getting him ready for this. Bit of a theory though about last year. This is the result of the race last year. I mean, look at the top three. Like, they've all been held up in rear, and then they've come through and they've finished in the first three. So, like, has the pace fallen apart last year, and has that given the race to Album Photo a little bit? Obviously, like, My Bite was in there going mental and stuff. So yeah, I wonder if the pace and the way the race is played out has really just landed it on his lap a little bit. I mean, Annabelle Flies finished second, 2.5 lengths in a Gold Cup, so no thank you. So that might be a little bit of a theory to oppose it. I mean, so typically, I mean, I've only gone back 5 years, but this is how the pace has generally played out in the Gold Cup. Like, front running and leading is normally the best place to be. So you've had 2 winners since 2015 in front run, and you've had 5 places since 2015 of horses that front run. And of the ones that the 1 winner that was held up and came from the rear, and the 3 places of the 5, all of them were from 2019. So the pace fell apart in 2019. So that's going to be my angle. I think it was a gift to Album Photo, so I'm not going to go with him. Santini, I just don't like him at all. Looking at the pace this year, how is it going to look? I don't know. Lost in Translation might go forward. Bristol Demise should be going forward. It's strange that they went out the back last year. And then you've got Kenboy's going to go forward as well. The one that I do like, though, I do like, this is it. There's a start. 10 out of 12 winners finished first on their last start. That's a negative for Presenting Percy, Kenboy, Lost in Translation, and Bristol Demise. The one that I like is Delta Work. I just think he's really progressive, and I think he was pretty savage in the Irish Gold Cup. I think he's on the improve, as you mentioned. He's got decent Cheltenham form. He wasn't very far off Santini in the RSA, and I just rate the Irish form higher than I rate the English form this year. And I just don't like the race that much. But if I had to have a selection, it's going to be Delta Work for me, because I can find negatives and excuses to go against the others.
We should point out that you said it was impossible to win back-to-back. Obviously, there has been back-to-back winners.
Who was that?
And there's also been back-to-back winners. Cottage Rake won it 3 times in a row. Arkle won it 3 times in a row. Lescargo won it twice in a row.
These aren't in recent history, though.
And Best Mate won it 3 times in a row in the early 2000s. Early 2000s?
Yeah. Oh.
Everyone knows Best Mate. You should have known.
Yeah. My horse racing history starts at Quarto Star.
Yeah, but he's. I mean, he's what? Is he an 8-year-old? Album Photo.
Yeah.
I suppose the question is having Delta Work and Santini in there this year, does it make it a better field? Don't know. Does it?
Santini might buy with decent horses this time last year.
They were, but they were still quite old. And Mike Bite was shite, by the way. So, Bristol de May, he beat him, what, 6 lengths? Would Santini have beaten Bristol de May 6 lengths with an extra furlong? Probably would have beaten further, to be fair, at the Cotswold Chase. So, I think the Delta Work and Santini album photo, it'll be one of those 3, and it's just who your personal perspective is on, what you think. Yeah, I wouldn't be looking further than them 3, but I think they're the first 3 in the market, so that's pretty obvious.
Oh, well done, yeah. My recommendation is have a big bet on the county instead of the Gold.
Yeah, more fun.
Yeah, exactly. Foxhunters. So Hazel Hill is the favourite here at 5-1. Won the race last year. I would be amazed if Hazel Hill wasn't totally primed for it again, despite a recent defeat to Milena Rocco this season. It's interestingly, it's often a race where you can come and go back to back. So On the Fringe went back to back in 2015 and 2016. Pasha de Paula went back to back in 2017 and 2018.
Should have bloody won it 3 times, Pasha de Paula.
Exactly, yeah. And then
what was the name? The cyclist rode him.
Pembleton, Victoria Pembleton.
Yeah, when she rode him and just didn't move a muscle, he just finished I think he was 4th or 5th. Like if he'd given if any sort of jockey had been on that, any amateur, I think he would have definitely gone close to winning.
Yeah, and Solsify also did it in 2012 and 2013. So I like Hill for the back-to-back, despite being a grand old age of 12. And I think 5-1's decent. Anything for you?
Do you know this is one of the top? It's in the top 20 of races bet on in the entire year of horse racing, and that's clearly, obviously, just because it's after the Gold Cup. But that just blows my mind that I will not be having a bet in this race, and I don't care who wins. Probably Manolo Rocco's in it, isn't he? I've backed him in every festival that he's been to, so I hope he wins.
Actually, I don't know if he is in it.
I think he is.
Yeah, he is. He's 3rd favourite. Yeah, he is, isn't
he was obviously 2nd in the bloody Gold Cup, so it's a bit of past form for you.
Yeah, and he beat Hazel Hill last time out.
Well, yeah. But yeah, it's not something I'd be too fussed about betting on.
So then we come to the Grand Annual. I like a Paul Nicholls angle here. So he's won it twice in the last 5 years. Really watch the market when the Nicholls camp starts smashing up a horse. The President was massively punted for it in 2018. He all 14s and went off at 15-2 and he won. Solar Impulse won this for Nicholls in 2016. He won at 28-1 as well. He was backed in from a higher price. So I like the Nicholls angle. I really like this horse, Greener Teen, who is the favourite now. So it's a very obvious angle, but has just been very progressive, keeps smashing up fields, smashed up a small field last time out by 5 lengths. At Fakenham, nice win by 5 lengths over Cracking Destiny. Marlborough on the 1st of February, nice win in December at Ascot. I really like him. I think Nicholls can target the Grand Annual well, and I think he's been bringing along this Green Teen with the race in mind. So that's my selection, the Fav.
Yeah, I've just got written down here. Nicholls has a decent record in this, so whoever Cobden rides, but you presume it would be Grenadine. However, I think you need something with a little bit more experience than this. I wouldn't be backing a novice personally. Maybe a second season novice. Like he said, Le President, when he won this, I think he ran it in it the year before and then came back and won it. Breland Das would be interesting from that perspective, but he's not the one.
True.
Yeah, he's not the one I'm going to say. Yeah, I think at a big price, I think he's still 33-1. Us and them for Joseph O'Brien. He was a pretty decent novice last year. He was obviously second in the Arkle. I think he was second in 4 graded novice chases last year. Now he hasn't done much this year, but I mean, read between the lines, probably might not be the case, but you never know. This could have been the angle for the whole year. Get a festival winner, run him down fields and get his mark. I think he's off 148. Should be a decent mark for this race. And he has a bit of handicap experience now. And if he runs to the level of second in an Arkle off 148 in a Grand Annual, 33-1 is going to look a decent price. But I mean, I wouldn't be going crazy. That was just sort of a token selection.
Nice though.
He's quite interesting. Worth a look.
Yeah. 5:30 last race of the day. So we're probably just in the bar anyway now, aren't we? Either drowning the sorrows or celebrating, but probably the former.
Well, that's what you said in your book, anyway.
Yeah, I said it. I couldn't even be bothered to do the write-up. I'm glad to see you've read it.
I've just read that first and last page. No, it's a good book. You haven't plugged it. Get it? Oh, there it is.
Out now. Last few days, chance to get the book, the festival, all of the stats you could ever possibly imagine about the Cheltenham Festival. No words, just tables of numbers. So it's not really a book.
It's not a novel.
It's more
is it?
like a condensed Excel spreadsheet over 100 pages.
Yeah, it's not Wuthering Heights.
No, it's not. Jesus, Martin Pipe. Like, I've got token selection here, but I haven't even got.
Yeah, I haven't got anything. I've just wrote down Gordon Elliott.
So I've circled Column of Fire, Gordon Elliott.
Yeah, I mean it's a race where you can have it's loads of novices. You know what I mean? They've all got X amount in hand. It's normally won by a horse that goes on to be pretty decent, to be fair. So yeah, bit of it.
So Gordon's had 2 winners in recent years and 8 places. So if you back a Gordon horse each way, that's probably a decent shout. Willie's had 3 winners in 5 places. So have a swing at a Gordon or a Willie horse each way, and then pray.
Yeah,
good. Who's your Napa Friday?
Ooh, I like 2. I like a few actually. I'm quite looking forward to Friday.
Yeah, Friday's a good day.
I'm looking forward to Friday till after the Gold Cup, and then I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and it's always awful after the Gold Cup.
It seems to be like that every year, though. It's like, I mean, usually because my county hurdle fancy has gone by the wayside and the Albert Bartlett was a nightmare, then Gold Cup, and then you're like,
you normally get the winner of the Albert Bartlett, don't you? You've had Penn Hill.
I had Penn Hill at 16-1. I backed him anti-post, and he was still 16s on the day, so we were there.
Rude.
We were there. Yeah, I backed Mohamed at 51 for this year.
Wise guy price.
Only on the basis, right? Because last year I eyed up Chitibello for this race. He was just doing the same thing that he's done Mohamed this year. Exactly the same thing. And I didn't bet him at the bigger prices, and I didn't bet him on the day, and he won. And I was like, fuck. Like, I think his SP was still like 12-1. And I was like, why the hell didn't I bet that? Do you know what I mean? I think he was like 33s for most of the winter until people started cottoning on. But so obviously now that I've backed Mohamed at a big price, he's obviously gonna flump, isn't he? Flump? Is he gonna flump? Flop. Gonna flop probably. But yeah, no, I like them two in the county, Aramon and Mohamed. But I don't know. I've got a good feeling about this Harry Senior. And he's a decent price. I think you can still get 10-1 each way, but I would really like All Mankind to win. One for the flat.
Yeah, I'm very keen on this Eglantine de Soy. It's my nap of Friday, and probably one of my strongest bet of the week.
Wow.
Really like her. Really like her.
Looking forward to watching that with you in a pub and being like, ooh.
Yeah, when Mohamed, Eglantine de Soy, and Aramon are all placed in the county.
The
money is gone.
Reverse TriCast.
Oof,
that'd be decent. Definitely have to put that on.
Yeah.
Just for the crack. All right, that's day 4. So what's your nap of the festival?
I mean, I probably can't remember. We've been doing these previews for 4 weeks now, but I do like
what you've just said, really.
Yeah, probably recency bias. Probably that one. Yeah. Who's yours?
I've wrote down the ones I actually bet on. I don't know if I'll be able to get it up. I've got a really strong feeling Itchy Feet is going to win the Marsh. I think Abacadabras. Hopefully the ground's not too soft. It's going to get me off to a flyer. And then if he wins, and then I know Envoy Allen's short, but if Abacadabras wins Supreme, I mean Envoy Allen should probably be 1 or 2. As far as bankers go, Envoy Allen and Paisley Park double, I think is strong. I said we'd do some handicap picks. Discorama, he's been found in the bloody market now, but I like him. I've got some notes on him actually. So Discorama, you are?
Which race?
Ultima. On the Tuesday. So yeah, obviously he has very good Cheltenham Festival form. He's come second twice. He came second in the Martin Pipe, and he came second in the National Hunt Chase last year. He has had a break coming into this. His form off a break reads first, fell, but when he fell, he was coming to win the race and looked the likely winner. And then a second, and that second was to Champagne Classic, who's obviously a pretty decent horse. He comes into this having a wind up. He's versatile ground-wise, so however it comes up, obviously stays further. So I think he's very solid, but again, he's a bigger price when I bet him. He's been found out in the market now, and I think he's only like 10-1, which is a bit annoying. But did you have any others for the handicaps? Also, if I don't want him to win, but if Steering Forlorn wins the Supreme, then you've got to be looking at easy work if he goes to the Coral Cup.
I'm going to play my angles, and I'm going to play my angles from the book.
Yes.
I will be backing everything that Davy Russell rides. I will be backing everything. I will be backing all Gordon Elliott horses. I will be backing all Willie Mullins mares. And I haven't worked out yet whether I'm just going to back every Irish horse. But even that's probably a step too far for me.
That's just, the outlays just would be scary. There's probably more Irish horses this year than there's ever been.
But I can give you the stat on if you backed every Have you got any others while I just get that start?
No, I think my strongest bets, I'll give you some of them. Ones I've actually bet, I'll say, not strongest bets, ones I've actually bet. Abacadabras and Supreme, Discorama and the Ultima. I've got Inviolent at bigger prices, but I do think he's a very, very, very solid bet. If he's odds against on the day, like if you can get 6-4 on the day, I think you get 6-4 now actually, but yeah, I think he's solid. Blacko, I backed in the Boodles. Itchy Feet in the Marsh. I've got, as I mentioned, Paisley. The Paisley and Inviolent double looks bomb proof. Lamarquise in the Mares for the L's.
God, yeah. People didn't like that, did they?
No, they did not. People don't understand.
Don't
Heading a joke. I don't understand jokes. Triumph, All Mankind. I've been backing him all year. Really hope he wins. He would be my best result of the whole bloody thing. Hired Araman, back both of them. Harry Senior, latest exhibition. Yeah, that's it. That's all the bets I've had, and I probably won't have too many more, to be honest. Maybe some in the handicaps with extra places, but those are the ones I'm strong on. I'm looking forward.
Here's the stats about if you backed all horses trained in Ireland or out of Ireland. Do it on Betfair, but if you look, so if you did it not on Betfair.
I'm looking at what the hell. So you would have been down 1.25 points with the bookies, but up 137
on Betfair. Yeah, do you know what that is? Eglantine de Soy won at a massive price.
Right.
But look at this. So since 2013, if you backed all Irish-based horses, you'd be plus 398 points to Betfair's starting price. 137 last year, 61, 123 the year before. A couple of years in loss, 74, 72. Look at the place market though as well. So the P&L in the place market, you'd be plus 194 points, and it's nice and reliable that. Plus 46 last year, plus 10, plus 7, plus 52, plus 25, plus 35, plus 16. So if you've got the cojones for it, you could just try and back every horse trained out of Ireland and see what happens. I'm going to have £2, I think, on every horse trained out of Ireland.
Let's look at you. 189 bets last year. It's been steadily going up most years. Well, on average, it's gone up. So you might be looking at again at 190 bets, maybe a few more. It's a lot without even betting. And then if you're betting things that you actually like, you're taking away from that kind of thing. So I think if you're going to play an angle, you got to stick to it.
Yeah, the Davy Russell angle as well is decent. He's plus 60 points since
last year.
Last year was brutal, but that's also because Gordon had a brutal year last year. Yeah. Gordon fell off the wagon last year, so the Davy and Gordon angle was absolutely brutal for me last year, like bloodbath. But before that, it was decent. So let's on Betfair, plus 10 evens, plus 20, plus 23, plus 44, plus 5, minus 7, plus 14. So. Back all David Russell runners and all Gordon Elliott runners used to be lethal. They need to come back this year.
He's a really strong booker. I know he does every year, but with Jack Kennedy being out, he's obviously going to pick up a few of those Gigginstown #1 riders, isn't he? So, yeah, interesting stuff.
So good. That's my nap. Back all Irish-based horses.
Jeez. Follow us on Twitter. Should we say that?
Yeah.
Northern Gamblers. If you're new, obviously we're might be getting some new people watching these with YouTube. We're actually really good on the flat, so it's worth tuning in if you're into your flat horse racing. But yeah, so
make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well, because we'll keep doing these through the flat season as well.
We're actually joined up to Instagram now as well. NG Racing, because we syndicate race horses, so if that's your thing as well. NG Race on the Instagram. Yeah. Down with the kids, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you are. All right, good. That's it. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Enjoy Cheltenham. Good luck. Just back the Irish horses.